君をキラじゃないかと疑っているんです。
What the heck did he just say?
推理力が40%。
What? Why am I sharing this? A lot of smart people, they have more internal demons they struggle with. They have more racing thoughts. They have more spiral thinking. They suffer generally more from insomnia. So being really smart comes at a cost, and it is hidden. And that's why I just want to share this fun fact with you guys that, trust me, we don't want to be that smart, because those people also struggle with a lot of inner demons and invisible struggle that ordinary people just aren't aware of, nor we can relate. Hello friends, my name is Benoit Kim, a UPenn educated psychotherapist. In today's video, episode 10, you can expect to learn about profiling under pressure, behavioral pattern tracking, and other relevant forensic psychological concepts. This is probably the last episode for this series, and we'll be moving on to the new series after this video. So I hope you enjoy, and I hope you enjoyed our journey together, analyzing the first 10 episodes and the most important arc of the series. Assassination Zero is a sponsor of the video. Join our sponsors tier to become a sponsor highlight of my videos. Shout out to the best patron family, and let's tune in. A seemingly very regular day on college campus.
しかし驚いたよ、龍が。親睦を深めるために突然テニスなんて。
迷惑でしたか？
いや、
Playing tennis.
僕の実力知ってて言い出したのか？
Quick pause. This might be completely unrelated, but I just watched one of the most important ATP tennis tournaments, and I don't know if anyone else saw the final. One of the greatest tennis finals matches and one of the greatest comeback in tennis history between Alvarez and Sinner. What an amazing match of 5.5 hours, the highest, most intensive level and a world-class level. And I've been taking tennis lessons every Tuesday. I call it Tennis Tuesday with my wife. And let me tell you, tennis is considered as one of the most difficult sports because it is so intricate. It requires great strength, technique, stamina. And I feel like the better I get, the worse I'm getting. And even if I skip a week of tennis play, I get very rusty. But to tie this back into the current plot, sounds like L is using sports to I guess deepening this air quote fake relationship and friendship with Light Yagami, because L wants to observe and further take notes of Light Yagami and close the gap between Light Yagami and Kira. Seconds, did you hear what Light said? I'm surprised they approached me to deepen our friendship with tennis. Did you know how good I am? And even in the most innocuous sense, his very narcissistic tendency comes out. I am so good at tennis. So I'm surprised why you wanted to play with me. What he's not saying, but implying, is I'm going to destroy you in tennis. So I wonder if the psychological warfare will get translated and manifested even on the tennis court. And the last thing I'll say before we resume is this is another strategic tactics by L. As I talked about previously in the last episode, 9, when you're creating this pressure cooker environment to observe and see the differences and shifts in micro expressions, definition right here, it's a very, very, I guess, astute and common tactics utilized by BAU, Behavioral Analysis Unit, in a forensic realm, as I also talked about. So I think this is another case in point of L putting Light under this arbitrary pressure cooker through tennis. Because what did I just say? Tennis is very intensive. You have to be very focused. So I wonder if this is another ploy by L to see that any changes and or just as a baseline observation of Light Yagami's micro expressions, his psychology, his approaches. Because I think the way we play sports, the way we display our behavior patterns in our day-to-day reveals a lot about our psyches and our internal reality. So my guess is L is using this external sports to glimpse into the internal reality of Light Yagami. Interesting start. Did not expect this.
イギリスのジュニアチャンピオンで
Damn!
あります。
ここで国籍はイギリスと聞けばキラだから探りを入れてると思うのか。龍河はイギリス育ち？
イギリスには5年ほど住んでいましたが、安心してください。そこから L の素性が割れるようなことは絶対ありません。
あ、そう。
Let me close my jaw. Another pause. As I suspected, even this seemingly innocent tennis match, air quote, deepening friendship, which is fake for both parties, again, is another extension of their psychological warfare and invisible high-level chess match. Do you see how much thought goes into every Q&A or response, question and response? Even the seeming exchange of, I was really good. And L is also like, oh, I was a British junior champion. And Light immediately goes, is he trying to bait me to ask him more and probe further into his identity to see if I'm Kira? But he's like, screw it, let's give it a shot. It's as if L is reading into the mind of Light Yagami. It's as if L knows how to mind read. Because after he answered, I lived there for 5 years, L says, don't worry. There is no important information there that could reveal the identity of L. Every battle, every psychological exchange, it's as if they're reading in each other's minds and they're answering and thinking on a highest synchronized manner. This is why I said they're nemesis, yes, but they're also, in a very, very weird, ironic, and twisted sense, they're also universal intellectual twins. They're on the same brain wavelength. And another fun fact, this might sound a little bit woo-woo, but it's been proven in the latest neuroscience research, where such as twins or people who've lived together for a long time, such as spouses, even best friends, can tap into each other's brain wavelength. And in other words, when you spend a lot of time and are close with your loved ones, again, family or friends, you can finish each other's thoughts. And even you can gauge what each other is thinking. Not all the time, but this is what we call synchronized brain wavelength. As we know, a lot of women, their menstrual cycles sync. And this has also been proven in hormonal science. When women and sisters and best friends spend a lot of time together, their menstrual cycle, they do sync often. This has been proven. And what is menstrual cycle? It's hormonal energy. So it is not too surprising to hear that even thoughts, which is also magnetic waves of our brain. So brain chemistry and brain wavelength can also sync, similar to menstrual cycles. And this is the reason why a lot of the latest neuroscience cutting edge research almost sounds like science fiction, but it has been proven empirically. It is fascinating. But to close off, the ultimate irony of this series is L is dedicating his entire life, putting everything at stake to put Kira to justice. And Kira is doing everything he can to kill L. But the irony is that they are often synchronized in their thoughts and their wavelength and their approach is often synchronized. So interesting.
では6ゲーム1セットを先取した方が勝ちでいいですね。
Shout out to tennis. So fun. Any other tennis fans out there?
これはあくまでも親睦のテニス。キラかどうかの判断材料にはなり得ない。しかしキラは負けず嫌い。
Oh! Damn!
15ラブです。
おいおい龍河、いきなり本気。
L is amazing.
先手必勝です。
That first serve was amazing.
L の指示で捜査本部外の者にはたとえ次長でも
Very strict. Nice.
のか、それすらもか。
申し訳ありません。
なあ、八神、もう4ヶ月以上も経つ。
Come to light. Get it?
警察も無能、L も無能。
お言葉ですか次長、キラを恐れて尻尾を巻く警察が有能だと言えるのでしょうか。今の捜査本部が何人になっているのかご存知のはず。世間体を気になさるなら幹部をはじめとする大部分がキラから逃げたという事実を知られないように努めてください。失礼します。
Politics everywhere.
L はどうなんだ、信用できるのか。
Yeah, only person.
有能だと思われます。今も命をかけて自ら動いています。
I love L's internal monologue, and as I also talked about in the last episode, I love when the writers are showing us the internal reality and their thought processes by revealing about their internal monologues. Because as I talked about as a joke, but I meant it, I feel so dumb and my brain cells are so inadequate even with the power of caffeine whenever I'm watching this show. When I'm glimpsing into the fourth layer, they're thinking on the ninth dimension. Nuts. 2L, this is an ordinary tennis match because he's a junior champion and apparently Light is also an exceptional tennis player. But then he did note that, but Kira hates to lose. This confirms what I said earlier. Even in an ordinary, seemingly ordinary tennis match, it does reveal our internal psyche. External activities, especially sports. Sports is arbitrary and man-made, but it is very competitive. That is the ethos and the entire focus of this thing that we call sports. Of course, it inevitably reveals our internal characteristics and psyche, such as our drive, our personality traits, such as how competitive we are. In this case, the fact that Kira hates to lose. How do we know that? As L said, every move approached and made by L, Kira would do even more, such as sending him encrypted messages of, did you know that Shinigamis exist? A, it's a psychological gaslighting. B, it's straight up mockery, even though it's encrypted. Because Kira knows, of course, L could decipher such a rudimentary level of encryption. But third, Kira hates to lose. Oh, you thought you have one move ahead of me? Don't worry, I'll get you back tenfold. And we're seeing that being played out here. And the last thing I'll say is Chief Yagami's integrity and full-on trust with L. Chief Yagami is willing to go against the direct orders of Deputy General, which is extremely high up. And whether it's the military, which is my backgrounds, or the police force, hierarchy and chain of commands, definition right here, is extremely, extremely critical, and it is a non-negotiable. You must follow the chain of commands, period. It is the first thing they teach you, they train you, and they instill in you, either military or the police force. So for Chief Yagami to go against the inquiries and directions of Deputy General, it means Chief Yagami trusts L more than anyone, but B, he understands fully, all too well, the stake, because L is putting his own life at stake by literally coexisting and introducing himself to Light Yagami. So I think that's a very, very fascinating dynamic that's at play right now. But we'll continue to see how this tennis match intensifies, and in turn, the psychological warfare also intensifies accordingly. And the last thing I said, as I said, blurted out live, Deputy General said in passing, it's been 4 months since the case came to light. I wonder that was also a pun intended by the writers, because who is Light? Kira. And did Kira come to light? No, because Kira is Light Yagami. So the fact that case came to light 4 months ago, but the identity of Kira remains anonymous, and the police force has made zero advancements. L, along with the 5 Kira's detectives, are the only ones making modicum of progress. So the irony of it's been 4 months since the case came to light, but light remains hidden. Or am I overthinking? Oh! This is so good. Tennis, man. If you know, you know. They're the best academically and also athletically. Life is really not fair sometimes, huh? Reverse psychology. Oh!
あいつもこのテニスでプロファイルなんてするわけがない。だからテニスでも。
Oh! Damn! Goosebumps. Oh, this is Alvarez versus Sinner 2.0. When did they get a ref?
審判やラインズマンまでいるぞ。
八神ライトってどこかで聞いたことあると思って調べたら、2002年と3年の中学生チャンピオンです。
They're both champions.
中学までと宣言して、それっきり何の大会にも出ていません。
They're both junior champions.
読めるぞ、ヤガミライト。お前の
Look at that observation.
こんなテニスで親睦。
Detection mode fully on.
これはお互いが深まったと了承し合うための
儀式だ。
このテニスをしたことで
I love the spotlight right now, the spotlight effect. Everyone else blurs out, melts away, fades away, except these two on the tennis court.
しか知らないことを言わせようとするだろう。
しかし今日などを見せまず自分を信用させろと言ってくるだろう。
キラ事件の話をするのなら少なくとも今キラ事件
The church music in the background, almost like a religious experience.
止めるのは必然だ。
Oh,
だからこれからお前が私に要求
the forearm and that backhand serves.
だと証明する有力な第三者との接見
Oh,
捜査本部に連れて行くこと
what is the synchronized brain wavelength?
では勝てない。勝つには攻める。
Oh, approach shot.
ゲームセット
Wow.
6ゲームス2-4
That was amazing. Wow. A lot has happened, but this is a continuation of my commentary momentarily ago. Similar to episode 9, we're seeing this dual screen effect of Light Yagami's internal reality through internal monologue and L's internal reality through his internal monologue. We're seeing they're happening almost seamlessly on a simultaneous manner. Again, it's as if they're reading each other's minds, glimpsing into the scripts by breaking the 4D dimension wall, by continuing their synchronized brave wavelength, as I talked about numerous times. And to close off their monologue, they finish off with this iconic parallel sentence. We will end up going to the task force headquarters together. But do you see how much psychological approach, how much reverse psychology is happening? Everything that Light Yagami is thinking to himself, there's no way that L is trying to profile me through a tennis match. And L immediately says something along the line of, see, Kira hates to lose. Let me see how much internal psyche of Light Yagami I can glimpse into. And therefore, by making connections and closing the gap between who Kira is and who Light Yagami presents to be. It's again that this tennis match is just the manifestations of this chess match. It's invisible, but happening nonetheless. And ultimately, L, I think, lost on the tennis court because it sounds like Kira is a better player because he was a junior high champion twice in a row, whereas L was a junior champion in Britain for once. Light won. But in actuality, I like to beg differ that I think L actually won this match, the chess match. He lost the tennis match, but he won the intellectual, invisible 4D dimension chess match because he was right. Kira hates to lose. Yes, this might be an ordinary tennis match, and there's no way I can profile Light Yagami through one tennis match. But it still verified and confirmed some of his suspicion. Kira hates to lose. And lo and behold, Light Yagami hates to lose. And he won by switching from defense to offense. And that's another metaphor, another hidden meaning. Because this tennis match was initiated by who? L. So this tennis match in and itself is an attack, an initiative by L. So Light Yagami has been playing defense metaphorically and symbolically the moment tennis match began. But at the very end, Light Yagami says, you cannot win in life by playing defense, you must attack. And he attacked, literally, physically, but also metaphorically, going from defense to closing out this game with a victory. What do you guys think? Of course, Kira won this tennis match, but who won this chess match? Are you guys with me saying that L won? Because it did reveal further into internal reality of Light Yagami. Or was this innocent and no one actually walked away and it was a tie? Let me know your thoughts.
さすが八神くん負けました。
喉も渇いたし龍河に頼みたいことも
They're so fake.
お茶しないか。
ゲームに負けたことですし聞けることなら何でもお聞きします。しかしその前に私も一つ言っておくことがあります。
Whoa, those voids.
君をキラじゃないかと疑っているんです。それでも聞けることなら何でもお聞きします。
What the heck did he just say?
僕がキラ。
いえ、疑っていると言っても 1% ぐらいです。それよりも八神くんがキラでないことと 捜査に協力していただきたいと思っています。
1% か。うまい言い方だ。たとえほんの少しでもと言ってもダメだと言うだろう。釘を先に刺されたということだ。やられた。
I just need a moment. I guess this in a way confirms what I said that L did won that chess match by losing the tennis match, because that's what Light Yagami says. And also, this might be the second biggest plot twist I've seen in the last 10 episodes. Of course, in episode 9, RIP to Rei's fiance, that was a complete plot twist. And this is a second plot twist. It's a bait and switch. L strategically revealed his true intention that, hey, in fact, I suspect that you might be Kira, but it's only a 1% chance. But then the most convincing deception is what? It's not 100% lie. Most skilled and high-level con artists, they deploy like 90% truth and 10% lie to create the ultimate deception. It's so well packaged, so interwoven, that you can't even parse through what is reality from what is lie. That's what he did. He packaged his approach, again, to assess any shift or change in Light Yagami's micro-expressions, the tactic he's been using since last episode when he introduced himself to Light Yagami. But here, let's get even more detailed and even more micro. He said that I suspect that you might be Kira. That is true. But he said that, but there's only 5%, or there's only 1%, which is a lie. Because he's been telling us, the audience, that he suspects Light Yagami to be Kira about 5%. So he decreased the percentage by 4%, but in reality, he reduced it by 5 times, from 5% to 1%. Now here's the second lie. He said that after I no longer suspect you, let's work together, and I want you to join the task force. It's an invitation. And this is exactly how the dual screen effect ended momentarily ago, of we will end up by going into the task force headquarters together. So this is a continuation of exactly what Light Yagami suspected internally and what L was planning at the same time. Do you see how well packaged and interwoven and complex that invitation to task force is? It's not just an invite. It's not just him for no reason revealing his true intention. Yes, it is partially true, but it's the ultimate deceptive approach by L. He is continuously fishing out and trying to gauge further into any change in Light Yagami's micro-expressions. Again, very, very effective tactics used by BAU, Behavior Analysis Units. And ultimately, that dialogue ended with Light Yagami admitting his defeat. He's like, damn, he beat me to the punch. Because at this point, L is seemingly the transparent, honest one. Because who in their right minds is able to say such thing, especially in this extremely delicate and sensitive timeline of Kira lurking around in the dark? The last thing I'll say is, even L's ability to approach and utilize such high-level deceptive tactic, I think solidifies my diagnosis earlier, level 1 ASD. I think that I think that L is indeed on the spectrum, because normal people, doesn't matter, I don't care how smart you are. To think outside the box, you must not be confined by the box of social norms. So for L to be able to make these incredible moves, yes, of course he's smart. Of course he's logical. Of course he's one of the greatest detectives in this world setting. But I think that deeper than that is he truly is on the spectrum. That's why he's not limited or influenced by the social norms. That's why he can truly be an out-of-the-box thinker. And this is a joke, but one of my favorite jokes about out-of-the-box thinking is when you ask an engineer to think outside the box, an engineer asks, how big is the box? It talks about how endemic and ingrained we are to the established paradigm, status quo, a traditional or conventional way of thinking. But L, because he's on the spectrum, he's not limited by that. He's truly be able to whip out these moves that surprises everyone. Exceptional writing by the writers and the studio. Amazing, amazing.
この喫茶店は
What a intense episode so far.
会話を聞かれることもない。
良いところを教えていただきました。
ここならその座り方もそんなに気にすることもないしね。
でないとダメなんです。
Catching
一
strays.
般的な座り方をすると推理力が 40%。
What?
私に頼みたいことって。
それは僕がキラじゃないと分かった時でいいよ。龍河の方から好きに話してくれ。
Quick pause. Again, I am the king of overthinking, so bear with me. One thing that Lights just said is, hey, this is a quiet corner, no one can hear us. And also, you have the comfort of sitting in whatever poor and horrible position you sit in. That sounds funny, right? That's why I laughed. But again, remember, Light Yagami / Kira does not say anything that is meaningless. Every single thought, every single word that's out of his mouth is carefully pre-planned and contemplated. We know that. That's been established this episode alone. So why did he say that? Because I think that because Light Yagami lost that chess match, as he admitted, I think he's trying to get back at L. I think this is Light's emotional or psychological clapback or verbal clapback. Hey, dude, you might be smart. You might have beaten me in tennis match, but you have a horrendous posture and you defy social norms and people will look at you, stare at you, gaze at you. What a social outcast you are. But don't worry though. I am so considerate. I am such a thoughtful, great friend that I thought about this. And I found this the perfect corner where you can sit at the comfort of your own privacy and however posture you like. And what does L say to that? Oh, I have to sit like this actually, mind you, because if I sit straight, unless I sit the way I do, my thinking and reasoning abilities drop by 40%, as if it's like a special skill he casts like a mage. L takes no prisoners either. Yes, Kira doesn't want to lose at anything. That's why he's clapping back, I think. L also hates to lose. He's like, actually, no. I'm purposely and knowingly sitting like this to optimize and maximize my reasoning paralysis. What an interesting exchange.
では失礼とは思いますが、八神くんの推理力をテストしてみてもいいでしょうか。
Here comes a test, another bait.
面白そうだ。
ではまずこちらをご覧になってみてください。この3枚はキラが刑務所内の犯罪者を操って死ぬ前に書かせたと。
This is insane. Wow.
これについて八神くんの意見を聞かせてください。
L is ongoingly and continuously observing any changes in Light Yagami's micro expressions. This is what he's doing. He gave the letters back to Kira, who sent this encrypted message to L episodes ago. And he's using the exact gift from Kira back to Light Yagami. Hey, here were the messages written by prisoners who were controlled under Kira. Let me know what you think. If this is not psychologically nuts, I don't know what it is. Dude, the chess match is getting way too much. I literally have a headache watching this episode right now, trying to gauge into the 14th layer. Wow. Wow.
まったく子供騙しだ。写真の裏にプリントナンバーが入っている。これに気づかず、L知っているか、死神はリンゴしか食べないという。濃厚ってわけか。だがこの程度の暗号を解いたところで。
Do you see L's unblinking observation and focus?
キラが死だけでなく、その人間の行動を操れるとしたら、すごい事実だね。この一番上の文字だけ取って並べ替えると、また文章になる。違和感のない文というと、そうだな。L 知っているか、死神はリンゴしか食べないかな。
Unbelievable. Reverse psychology.
その順に並べ替えると、L 知っているか、リンゴしか食べない死神はだ。読ませようとしたとは考えにくいけどね。
不正解です。実は4枚目の写真があるんです。これを加えるとこうなります。L 知っているか、リンゴしか食べない死神は手が赤い。
フェイクだ。この4枚目は僕が犯罪者に書かせたものではない。
Color theory.
かこいつ。
Red shows up.
しかし3枚だけなら 僕の推理で完璧じゃないか。
完璧ではありません。事実4枚あったのですから、そこまで推理して完璧。変わらず3枚しかないと決めつけ、4枚目を推理できなかった。これも事実です。
こいつ。なるほど、これは推理力ではなく、そこまで推理できなかったな。まあどっちにしろキラに迫れる文章ではないしね。死神なんているわけないし。
ではもし八神君が L だとしてキラである可能性のあるものに相対したらどうやって確かめますか？
一般には報道されていないキラにしか知り得ないことを相手に喋らせる、今龍河がしていることだ。
すごいですね。今と同じ質問を何人かの刑事にしたのですが、
Wow.
答えるまでに数分考えるものがほとんど。しかし八神君は瞬時に操作する者と話をする時のキラの立場で考えられた。すごいです、八神君の推理。
Duh.
あまり卓越した考え方をすると疑いが濃くなるみたいじゃないか。
はい、3% に。しかしその分一緒に操作してほしいという気持ちも強くなりました。私はたとえ八神君がキラであってもこの理屈わかります？
Why?
僕が協力すれば捜査も進むかもしれないと同時に、もしキラならボロを出すかもしれないと取り調べを一度にできる。いい考えだと思う。
Double whammy.
でも何か勘違いしていないか龍河。確かに僕はキラ事件に興味を持ち趣味で推理もして、第一龍河だってキラじゃない証拠は何もないんだ。片方が取り調べまがいなことをするのはおかしいだろう。どっちもキラじゃないなんて証明はできない。しかし龍河が L だという、例えば捜査本部の一員や父に L 本人だと僕の目の前で証明してもらうことだ。それが無理なら一緒に捜査すること。
Here comes a counter punch.
よくしゃべるな八神ライト。負けず嫌いの典型だ。 7%。 もしかして本当にものに合わせないなんてそんなこと一度も言ってませんよ。
え？
今私は捜査本部で八神君のお父さんたちと共に捜査をしています。捜査本部に八神君を連れて行けば捜査に協力していただ。
Here we go.
そう解釈していいんですね。
何考えてるんだこいつ。
Quick pause with that ringtone. I just want to start with a quick question. I thought that L thought it was 5% that Light Yagami might be Kira, and he just said that that just increased by 3 more percentage. That's 8. I'm no mathematician, and I'm no number one student in Japan like Light Yagami or L, but 5 plus 3 is 8. So why did L say that it was 7% that he might be Kira? Is he playing safe? Is there other variables or contributing factors that the show did not reveal, or did I miss out? Yeah, so why was it 7%? Second thing, this table conversation after the air quote quiz of Light Yagami's reasoning test, which was another triple reverse psychology bait. It's the exact execution and manifestation of their internal monologues on the tennis court. So as we talked about, everything that was intended and was hoped for through the tennis match is happening as they intended for both Kira and L. Exceptional. Second thing, L is keep revealing more and more underlying tension. And that's why he even asked him the probability or the percentage of my suspicion of you, Light Yagami, just went up by 3%. But it further convicted me and convinced me of working with you. And of course, Light Yagami answered the two reasoning. But then here's what I want to really talk about. I wonder what other data that has not been revealed to the audience L has gathered so far. Because at the end, we saw Kira with his display of color theory redness, right? Well, as some audience suggested, team blue and team red. And apparently there's a team yellow, which is a neutral color. He changed his colors to red. And he was startled. He was surprised. He's like, what? What is the meaning of this? What are you planning? That means the final request made by L surprised even that of Kira. So I wonder what other data and information L was able to gather from this table conversation that even we missed out on. I really want to, I think that would be very interesting to know. And I'm sure the show revealed that. And hopefully the second half of this episode. And before we resume, I want to share another fun fact. I saw a lot of viewers' comments in the series so far about I wish I was as smart as Kira or L. Some viewers said that. And I actually responded in a comment that I will share here in the video. We don't want to be this smart. We call that need for cognition. Definition right here. Need for cognition is a term we use in cognitive psychology. Definition right here. People who are air quote colloquially known as smart, they have a larger need for cognitions. What that means is for them to feel satisfied, for them to receive an adequate amount of dopamine from either reading, from doing something productive, something intellectually stimulating and fulfilling, they have a way higher thresholds than air quote average people. People like that have extremely high need for cognitions, like I said. Their thresholds for the intellectual fulfillment and stimulation is much higher. Why am I sharing this? A lot of smart people, they have more internal demons they struggle with. They have more racing thoughts. They have more spiral thinking. They suffer generally more from insomnia. They also have other co-occurring morbidities like insomnia, OCD, and other disorders. Because they're so particular, because they're so air quote smart. Remember, our body, biological system, the mind, the body, the spirit, it's a harmonious ecosystem where I believe it's designed by God, per my Judeo-Christian faith, but even evolutionarily speaking, it's been optimized. Human body is the perfect machine. Our brains is the most ancient and most powerful supercomputer, full stop. And supercomputers requires better hardware. And better hardware requires more maintenance, more inspection, more upgrades. So being really smart comes at a cost, and it is hidden. And that's why I just want to share this fun fact with you guys that, trust me, we don't want to be that smart, because those people also struggle with a lot of inner demons and invisible struggle that ordinary people just aren't aware of, nor we can relate. Anyway, let's see what the second half of episode brings
失礼
us.
します。
あ、僕も。はい。
龍崎、大変なことに。
ライト、お父さんが。
八神君、父が心臓発作。
What? Was it just because under a lot of stress? I mean, Chief Yagami has been under a lot of acute stress every day for the last 4 months. Plus the sleep deprivations. It could cause a heart attack.
じゃあ、ま
Man.
た明日必要なものを持ってきますから。
Oh, the mother.
本当にただの過労なんだろうな。
Makes sense. Physical fatigue.
キラかと思ったが大丈夫だ。ここ最近少し無理をしたようだ。
Dude, Chief Yagami almost had a heart attack after having a heart attack because he thought this was an attack made by Kira. Can we just appreciate and think about the magnitude of constant stress Chief Yagami and the entire Kira's detective team is under? They're literally hypervigilant, definition right here. They're walking on eggshell psychologically, emotionally, and also physically. They don't know where and when and or how Kira is going to attack. This enemy who they're trying to put into justice, who wields supernatural power that's unknown to them. Can you imagine the pressure they're under? And this is also the reason why Chief Yagami was fervently against the orders of Deputy Director earlier. And that's why he was advocating for his colleagues who wouldn't flee and who wouldn't quit because they're so fearful of Kira. I would too. That's why no one can blame them. That's why Chief Yagami was advocating for his colleagues and his subordinates against the deputy director. But then, do you know who usually take on the most stress? It's not the regular detectives or employees. It's usually the team leader. A good team leader, by defect though, should take on the most stress the most psychological, emotional burden. That's what makes them the leader. And remember, not every leadership is a leader. Leadership is bestowed upon your time in service, how many years you've been working in the force, or even any corporations or organizational structure. A true leader is people who shine, who step on that plate, rise up to the occasion, with or without titles. And Chief Yagami, as we have seen through this heart attack, through him getting physical fatigue, shows that he truly has internalized and take on tremendous emotional and psychological toll and burden on behalf of the task force and the police department. That means he truly is a good leader. But imagine that constant fatigue, constant stress. It's invisible, and there's nothing Chief Yagami can do. And the only way for him to get better is for him to take a sabbatical leave or take a rest, R&R, rest and recovery, or when Kira is put to justice. But I don't know if the show will go into this. I wonder if all this Kira's case and dealing with the situation will even take years off his lifespan, because chronic stress has tremendous impact, negative impact and adverse impact on our overall lifespan. That's why people who've gone through numerous traumatic experiences like ACEs, definition right here, adverse childhood experiences, are known to have future decreased health index and rise of future health morbidities and health implications, like higher rate of heart disease, cardiovascular health problems, and so on. And I hope that's not the case for Chief Yagami. But at the end of the day, he chose this life and he's willing to sacrifice the life of his own and everything he has, because that's how much he believes in justice. But I hope Chief Yagami recovers.
なおさらです。
そんなことまで父に。
はい。すべて話してあります。私がエルであることも。
He just revealed.
だ。彼がエルだ。第三者に分からぬよ。
Wow.
我々は龍崎と呼んでいるが。
本物のエル。父が言ってるんだ。
You see the immediate emotional switch?
こいつと本部の人間をすべて消せば。いや、そんな
Color theory again, red versus blue.
焦ることはない。ここからはじっくり探れば、とにかく今は父を心配する八神ライトだ。
で、龍崎。
Another quick pause. I just want to really zoom in and spotlight the triple thinking layer and the triple thought process that's segregated and perfectly compartmentalized by light. Like I said earlier, everything he says, everything he shares, every word that is out of his mouth has been perfectly and extensively calculated. Nothing he says is innocent. And I really hope you guys can appreciate for the remaining of this episode and show that everything Light Yagami says has been calculated extensively in his mind. And now we're seeing the final confirmation for Light Yagami that L is truly L, as he said. But now, yes, Light Yagami is the subject of investigation by L. But like Light Yagami said, L is also the subject of Light Yagami's invisible investigation, because Light Yagami is Kira. So we're seeing this ongoing dual reality. Not just the internal realities I've spotlighted, but the external realities of L and Light are both simultaneously the subject of each other's investigations, but also the experimenter, because they're experimenting psychologically, trying to reveal each other's identities so they can put each other to justice. And of course, that justice for L means arresting and imprisoning Light Yagami. And that justice for Light Yagami is killing L along with the task force. But here's my question for everyone. When he said that, as long as I can get rid of L and the task force, do you think he included his own father? Because his father, Chief Yagami, is also a part of the task force. What do you guys think?
息子と話をしてみて疑いは晴れたのか。
Nope. R.I.P. Ray.
キラを死刑台に送るって。
You're the one that's gonna put your debt to death, bro.
ではない。
とても演技だとは思えない。いや、演技だとしたら臭すぎる。
Too corny.
聞いてくれ、ライト。キラーは悪だ。それは事実だ。しかし、最近私はこう思うようにもなっている。悪いのは人を殺せる力だ。そんな力を持ってしまった人間は不幸だ。どんな使い方をしても人を殺した上での幸せなど真の死。
Deep. It's very profound. That's wisdom.
言う通りです。もしキラが普通の人間でその力を手に入れたのなら全く不幸な人間です。
龍崎、迷惑をかけたができるだけ早く私も復帰する。
No, Chief. Take a breather. Rest a little bit. I want to talk philosophically very briefly based on what Chief Yagami said. And I think a viewer commented this in either episode 1 or episode 2. They said, and I agree, and hearing what Chief Yagami said just brought that forward for me. The first victim of Death Note, the first victim of Yoke's psychopathic voyeurism, his boredom, his existential nihilism, his incessant and careless pursuit of fun out of his absolute boredom, the first victim is actually Light Yagami. It's so true. As Chief Yagami and L both concurred, he's an unlucky person. Because it's not, yes, Kira has become evil, as we talked about. And with my pre-Death Note diagnosis, which I gave Light Yagami, he was not a sociopathic person. Yes, maybe he's exhibited some traits without meeting the full-blown diagnosis of an ASPD sociopath. It's the encounter and acquisition of this godlike, although it's false god, but this Shinigami power through Death Note that has further pushed Light Yagami into this moral disengagement and moral deterioration by becoming Kira. And as I talked about in earlier episodes as well, with the more prominence and Kira being more pronounced as a primary identity, the secondary, the previously primary now has become secondary identity of Light Yagami. The rise of Kira also suggested the death of Light Yagami, and we see that more and more. But yes, I agree that Light Yagami was the first victim, and it truly is a lack of fortune and unfortunate event that Light Yagami picked up Death Note. But as we know that similar energies attract, and I do think that Light Yagami's, aside from obviously all this is fictitious and brilliantly written by the writers, because Light Yagami is so smart, as I said, people with higher need for cognitions struggle with more internal demons and struggles. Light Yagami is the perfect embodiment of that. He was too smart for his own good. He cannot relate or resonate with his friends because he's miles above their league intellectually and cognitively. So he was nihilistic. He was sickened and jaded by the rotten nature of this world. That's why he gravitated towards Death Note. That's why he gravitated with his sick and twisted sense of moral. But before he killed the fake L, if he only stuck to his truly righteous killing, although that sounds like an oxymoron, if he truly defended the weak, like that female that was rescued by him, who was almost sexually assaulted and kidnapped by that biker, if he only stuck to his initial moral compass and his initial pre-tainted rule and operations with Death Notes, I don't think we could say that Kira is evil. Someone could question, is his killing justified? Does he have the right? Does he have the moral calling to execute and deliver so-called justice? Yes, anyone can still ask that question because the vehicle for his justice is through murder. But I don't think anyone will say he's evil. But now he has become evil without a shadow of doubt because of what he does. And this is similar to a lot of people who win lotteries. Most people who win lottery are miserable. They have to hide their identities. they literally have to flee the country, go to tropical islands and somewhere else. They have to be anonymous because they're overwhelmed and bombarded by their friends and families. It's easy to say no to your friends when they come knocking on your door for money because you've won millions and millions of dollars. And remember, lottery is unearned. These lucky or unlucky people who won lottery did not earn that. Oh, you could argue that they paid for that lottery. So did millions of other people. So lottery is unearned. That's what lottery means. It's pure chance and pure luck. Just like the encounter with Death Notes. But then, how can you say no to families? Your parents, your grandparents, your auntie, uncles come at you incessantly to ask for money. How can you say no to all the guilt tripping and all that? It's very, very hard. And a lot of people have to truly forfeit their life to start anew because of this lottery. So is that really a blessing? Or is that a curse? And I think that's the philosophy, and that's exactly what Chief Yagami and L are saying. I feel bad for the person who picked up Death Notes. I feel bad for Kira, because Kira wasn't always evil. But the power, this absolute power to kill people, is indeed evil.
龍が何か僕がキラじゃないと信用してもらえる方法はないか。
八神君がキラでないのならそんなこと。
Oh, true.
キラだと疑われる人間がどんな気持ちか考えてみろよ。
最悪な気持ちになりました。
だから例えば1ヶ月間僕をテレビも何も
That hunchback.
誰かにずっと監視させておくとか。
普通そこまでして疑いを晴らしたいと思うだろうか。
Yeah.
ダメです。そんな人権を無視したことはできませんし、何よりも疑いの
Geneva Human Rights Convention.
ナンセンスです。
Oh.
大丈夫ですよ。
Watari the Butler.
そのうちわかることです。それに今日の八神君とお父さんのやりとりでキラでないとも考えました。ではお父さんをお大事に。
もう一つ捜査協力するとは言ったけど父が元気になるまではしばらく何もできないと思う。
わかってます。では
Quick pause. Do you think what Kira said that I don't think I can help out with the investigation until my father gets well? Of course, to us, that sounds very, very reasonable and very normal. Because, bro, if our fathers are sick and just had a heart attack under tremendous, unspeakable stress, of course that takes priority above all else, period. But knowing Kira and how calculated and psychopathic he has become, was how much of that sentiment was genuine. How much of what he said was out of a genuine care for his father, and how much of that sentiment was deeply calculated. Another disguise, another layers of false deception to cover up his tracks metaphorically with L. Because Light Yagami knows he's under utmost scrutiny under L. So everything he says, like I said, is pre-planned. And everything he's doing is, I think, subtly and also indirectly trying to get rid of this suspicions by L. Of course, the answer could be both. He could have genuine care of his father, but also trying to cover his tracks. But I think this begs my previous question. When Light Yagami said that, I just have to kill L and the task force, did he include his father in that statement? I guess only time will tell. But what do you guys think?
龍が秀樹、龍崎。僕が
So
戦っ
many
てきた
fake
エルは
names.
あいつだ。本当の名前は
未来とキラではないのか。
Both deep in their thoughts.
拾ってこの力を得たことを不幸だなんて一度も思ったことはない。この力を得た僕は最高に幸せだよ。そして最高の世界を作る。
That's what makes
ノー
him
と思ったことでライ
psychopathic.
トが幸せになろうが不幸になろうが
Yoke is so honest.
ただ普通は死神に疲れた人間は不幸になるらしい。
Proven.
じゃあリュウ君は普通じゃない方のパターンを見られるよ。
Narcissism, savior complex.
ええ
One quick thing I will say is I think, yes, on the surface, Light Yagami said that, I guess, assurance to Yoke that, hey, just for the record, I've never been unhappy. I'm very happy. Of course, Yoke doesn't care, dude. Like, he could give 0 Fs. Remember, all of this is just a game. All of this is just distraction from his seemingly eternal boredom. So I think the true intention of Light Yagami saying that is I think he's also seeking assurance to and for himself. I think he said that largely to himself and for himself. Because remember, yes, Light Yagami is a psychopathic individual who wields the supernatural power of Death Note. But remember, just like L in previous episodes had moments of doubt, which is very humanizing to show that L is not a ChatGPT robot. Similarly, we do also see glimpses of Light Yagami freaking out, in panic mode, being cornered, being psychologically exposed. And in this case, I think deep inside in the hearts of his hearts, I don't know how deep his delusion goes since he's not my client in my forensic work, but all humans, psychopathic or not, have moments of doubt. It's very, very normal. There's no such thing as absolute certainty, even with grandiose delusions, clinically speaking. So I think he did say that for himself that, no, I am not misfortunate at all. I am very lucky, and I shall be the exception to the rule by proving Yoke wrong, his father wrong, and L wrong by creating a wonderful world to be the predestined Messiah, the false god, the night god of Light Yagami.
こんな企画しか出せないのかよ。お前らキラの特番やってれば何でも視聴率取れると思ってんじゃないの？今まで俺の番組が視聴率取ってきたのは他の局じゃやらないネタをやってきたからなんだよ。分かってる？問題はネタなんだよ、ネタ。何がいいネタ持ってこいよ。
そんなこと言われても警察はだんまりだし無理っすよ。
バカ！ネタがなきゃガセでもいいから自分で作れっつうの。あ？
デメガワディレクター速達です。
なんだこれ。何者からだ。お前らこう言うんだよ。いや、たまんないね。
What's the translation?
全世界へのメッセージ。放映に逆らうようなことをしたら記者の社長から殺していくことになりますってよ。これが本物だったらすんげえことになるぞ。おいおい、嬉しくてドキドキが止まらないよ。
To be continued. So to close out today's video, I want to talk about headline culture and sensationalism. Definition right here. I want to start off by the story by Denzel Washington. I think that's the name of the actor, if I'm not mistaken. Someone might have to fact check me on that. I believe in one of his latest movie, red carpet premiere years ago. I forgot which movie, forgive me. He was talking to a journalist because the journalist and interviewers at the red carpet event for his movie premiere, they were asking him about fake news. And I think this was 10 plus years ago. And as we all know, fake news, misinformation, disinformations have been ever more rampant and at an unprecedented height. And there is a difference between misinformation and disinformation. Definition right here. Misinformation is mistaken information. It's accidental. So it can be innocuous, but it is fake news nonetheless. Disinformation is disingenuous. It's purposely distributed and created to falsify information. So disinformation is a lot more malicious and ill-intended than misinformation. I know most of us use these two terms very interchangeably, but there is a difference. There was an article that was released the night before this red carpet event for Denzel Washington saying that he OD'd on, I think, fentanyl or some sort of substances. But of course, he's alive because he came to the red carpet event. So journalists asked Denzel, what do you think about the articles and fake news? And Denzel Washington says something brilliant that I even remember to this day, even though it's been 10 plus years since then. He says that this speaks volume and spotlights the utmost importance of journalism. In today's day and age, if you read too much news and too much information, you might be misinformed because of the rise of misinformation and disinformation. But if you do not read enough news, and if you don't engage in any political or current affair, then you'll be uninformed. It's a very fine line. You read too much, you'll be misinformed. But if you read too little, you'll be uninformed. So the sacred baton, the importance of accuracy of information is your job, because he was talking to this journalist. Journalism has always, or historically, been the vanguard, the frontier of news and information. Accurate, evidence-based information. But with the rise of sensationalism, headline culture, because news organizations are dying, cables are dying, the rise of Netflix, Hulu, and so on. So more and more news organizations go towards sensational routes. Everything's breaking news. Everything's sensationalizing. Case in point, the way this episode ended. The misfortune of many deaths, the unspeakable stress of the police force, this cat and mouse dynamic, is fortune for this news organization they spotlighted. Get some tea, get some secret news, get some insider information. Oh, you can't? Then make something up. There's no integrity. There's no professionalism. Everything's about sensationalizing other people's misfortune to make money for the sake of news. And to close off what I said, he received this letter. I don't know who sent it. Maybe it was Kira. Maybe it wasn't. It says, if you don't broadcast this, I'll kill everyone. Do you see that sick twisted smile by this manager who was in this meeting? Who wouldn't air this? Yes, he was sweating because it could be a real threat. But we see more joy and ecstatic nature by this guy than fear and concern for the validity of this special delivery. He doesn't care about the president dying. He doesn't care about their lives being threatened by Kira, because he's like, jackpot, another special story, another money-making opportunity, because this will definitely make headline. This is the perils of modern information era. There's too much misinformation. There's too much disinformation. The headliner culture has truly robbed and hijacked our journalism as a whole. Of course, there are legitimate ones, but I think they're few and far between. What do you guys think? Do you guys watch the news? What is your primary source of information gathering? Is it social media? Is it mainstream outlets? Is it your friends? Because like Denzel Washington said beautifully, in 2025, it's very, very difficult for us to parse through and go through vetting because AI, deepfake, everything is too advanced. And it's too cumbersome because everyone's busy living our own lives. But would you rather be misinformed or would you rather be uninformed? And wow, I think this is one of my favorite episodes so far. There's so much psychological crescendo. It's seemingly low action and low pace or slow pace in this episode, but the amount of chess moves, amount of psychological underpinning and warfare is unbelievable. Shout out to L and Lights for putting up such an amazing chess match in episode 10. And as always, if you enjoy my analysis for Death Notes in the last 10 episodes, since this is the last episode for my series, I really appreciate you. I'll probably finish out the series by myself because it's too good of a show to miss. But due to popular demands, I'll be moving on to new animes because guys, for me to get to all my anime due to insane popular recommendations, 86 Vinland Saga, just to name a couple, Attack on Titans, I will literally have enough content for the next years. And I want to diversify my content. Appreciate you guys understanding where I'm coming from. And as always, smash that thumbs up. I pour my heart out for all my videos, as you know, and subscribe. Motivate me to give you better analysis, better commentary next time. I appreciate you, and as always, until next time, peace.